Welcome to Heartbeat. Today I'm going to talk to you about being stuck in the middle. Now, I'm going to describe a little bit what does that mean, but what comes to my mind is the game Piggy in the Middle. Now, I'm going to describe it to you in case you don't know what the game is, and normally it entails often 3 people, but you can play it with more. And what you have is 2 people on either end who have a ball. And normally one person, but you can have a few people. They are the piggy in the middle. They're stuck in the middle of the game. And the people on the end have to throw the ball across to each other, not letting the people in the middle catch the ball. Because if they catch the ball, then you're the piggy in the middle and they then go to the outside. And, I guess it stops when you decide you want the game to stop. But sometimes I've been stuck in the middle as the piggy and I can't get the ball. I'm trying to jump high. I'm trying to, because they might throw it to the side. They're not necessarily just over the top of you. You're trying to get it and, it just feels like impossible and it's never ending and I'm never going to get out of this situation. Never going to win the game. That's sometimes what it feels like in life. I'm stuck in the middle of parenthood. I'm stuck in the middle of my career. I'm stuck in the middle of COVID. I'm stuck in the middle of old age, aging. Whatever it could be where you feel like you're stuck. You can't get out, that you don't see the way forward. You can see where you've been, but you don't see any future. You don't see how you're trapped. You feel trapped. And it's not that you don't enjoy parenthood, or it's not that you not enjoying your career, but as you're getting older, but sometimes it's like there's no hopes and dreams as much anymore. I just feel stuck. And it is described, that situation, so often in Scripture. So often in our lives, there's been other people gone before us, years gone by, that have felt the same thing. But, we're sometimes not able to bring that hope or that new life to us, but God is. God is able to bring back to life even those things which we feel are dying in the middle. If we stay anchored to Him, He can restore and resurrect dreams and destinies for our lives. Daniel in the lion's den, he was stuck in the middle, in the den with lions. But he wasn't stuck either, because he knew God was with him. But God had set his whole life up for this one of these one moments, because I think sometimes God doesn't just have one moment in our life. He wants us to encounter Him in so many areas and so many ways every day of our life if we desire it too. It's the relationship, a two-way relationship of conversation, of love, of communication, of living life together. But this one point in Daniel's life eventuated because of things that God had set up along the way. And it surprised me when I actually started reading into it more. If you've ever read the book of Daniel, God orchestrated what happened in Daniel's life. What's orchestrated mean? It's like God is the conductor and you are a person who plays in the band, in God's band, with an instrument. But God conducts when you play your instrument, when you sing, when you tune, whatever may occur, if you have eyes to see. So we start with the book of Daniel, and it starts chapter 1, verse 2, and it said, "The Lord let King Joachim of Judea fall into the power of King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon." The Lord let. This king going to battle was defeated, but the Lord let that happen. because he had future plans for his people, for the people of God, for even individuals like Daniel to do something in their lives. And it wasn't just Daniel. In this story, we have 3 other men that are with Daniel: Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Now, that's the names that they were given when they were captured, because when the king he lost the battle, his whole kingdom goes to King Nebuchadnezzar. Now, King Nebuchadnezzar decides to get all the good-looking, intelligent men, boys, and to train them, to teach them, but to bring them into his kingdom so they can serve him. Daniel gets taken, and so does Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. But God used them to give hope to us as we read it later, to give hope to those who were captured, who were stuck in the middle. They were told, or the king told these guards, these people who had to look after these young boys, to keep them well fed, to give them the same food that the king ate and the same alcohol, drink, wine, whatever they had at the time. But David felt like, possibly because they don't list what food it was, but it was not honouring to God. And so he went to the head guard who was looking after them, the keeper, and said, "No, we want to eat just vegetables." And the guard was like, "But oh my goodness, if you're not healthy, I'm going to get in trouble. I'm going to, lose my head." And David goes, "No, let us eat vegetables for 10 days, and we'll show you that our God will make us healthy and fit and well." So Daniel resolved that he would not defile himself with the food or traditions of the other kingdom. He was going to follow what his king, God, his king, asked of him. But also it says in verse 9, God allowed Daniel to receive favour and compassion from his keeper. God placed on the keeper's heart to be compassionate. He could have said, "No, you're not having vegetables. You're having exactly what King Nebuchadnezzar wants because I've got to keep my head." But God allowed the keeper to have a soft, compassionate heart. And in 10 days' time, what happened was these 4 men, young boys, were the fittest, healthiest out of everyone, because God honoured what they stuck with. Then in verse 17, it says, to these 4 young men, God gave knowledge and skill in every aspect of literature and wisdom. Why? Because he wanted them to have the positions, the high positions in this king's kingdom. They were captured. They were going to be servants, slaves, but he granted them literature and wisdom and, the ability to be healthy and strong so that they would be chosen to be in charge of this king's kingdom because he had a purpose for it. But also for God's purpose, he gave Daniel an insight into all visions and dreams. Daniel was a man of God, and he would not compromise his anchor of faith. In the middle of his captivity, he followed the Lord. In the middle of their captivity, these 4 men followed the Lord. Now, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were not liked by the others because they were chosen to be in a higher servant, station in the kingdom. And they would not bow down or do what the others did, bow down to statues of gold. And they were then accused that they weren't following the king. So they were thrown into the fiery furnace. But when the king looks into the fiery furnace, there's actually 4 people in there, because one of them's an angel that God had sent to protect them. And this king was just amazed. Oh my goodness. And And these three were asked to come out, and there was no fire, no stench of smoke even on them, because God had protected them, because he had honoured them by honouring their God. Daniel also, because he had these dreams, King Nebuchadnezzar had these bad dreams. And he went to the magicians and the charlatans and people that said they could prophesy and look into the future, know what was going on. They didn't have a clue. But King Nebuchadnezzar wanted people to tell them, what is my dream, and now interpret it. And it says Daniel went away and prayed, and God gave it to him. So Daniel didn't just sit there and said, oh, I know, blah, blah. No, he asked God for the answer. And he sought out King Nebuchadnezzar's dream, and he sought God's mercy, and God revealed to him the dream. Why? Because there was a purpose for Daniel's life. Daniel was then chosen to be in charge, one of the 2 or 3 in charge of the whole kingdom for King Nebuchadnezzar, because he knew the dream and he knew the interpretation of it. But then King Nebuchadnezzar died. His son came to be the king. And the king, this son, he liked Daniel. But again, there were others who didn't. And they sort of tricked the king and said, sign off and say that everyone's got to bow to the king. But Daniel would not bow. He would only worship and honour the Lord your God. So he was actually then said, well, you're going to be thrown into the lion's den. You're going to be in the middle of not just your captivity now, but you're going to be in the middle of danger, disaster, death. And God came and rescued him. And because of that, the next morning when the king came to see if Daniel had been eaten by the lions, and he was not, he called Daniel out. And the king made a decree that everyone in the land would now honour Daniel's God. Wow. Daniel, because of his faithfulness, because he stuck it out in the middle of whatever he was in, he followed God. His anchor was God. He had the belief and trust in God. The whole kingdom was decreed by the king to now honour and worship the true Lord and God, Daniel's God. You know, our tests sometimes it's a test that God can send us. But don't let anything that happens weaken our faith. May it strengthen our conviction that God is with us. Daniel had a confidence that God was with him. Do you? Do I? I have to question it. In the middle of despair, in the middle of stress, in the middle of, can't pay my bills, in the middle of just life, do I have the scope of faith that I will trust in my God, that he will bring me through it, that he will help me in it, that he will do the purpose of why I'm there? You know, we are often put in places and situations. We are often made captive for a purpose for God. Do we trust that he has the best plan? You know, sometimes when we're put in places of stress, it demonstrates the depth of our belief that God is with me, that I trust in him completely. He will never leave me. Do I stay righteous in right standing and relationship with God no matter what I am, where I am, who I am? You know, Psalm 92, there's a line in it that I just love. And I'm going to read it to you. Because sometimes as we're getting older, we feel like, I've missed the boat, I've had my career, I've done everything, that's it. I'm now just waiting to die. What? God has so many things for us no matter our age. And in Psalm 92 verse 14 it says, in old age they still produce fruit. They are always green and full of sap, showing that the Lord is upright. He is my rock, and there is no unrighteousness in him. No matter how old I am, if I'm 85, I still bear fruit. God will still use me. There is still greenness and running sap within my veins because God is with me. You know, it's awesome that people who, no matter their age, just go and do what they can do. Maybe my body, what does it say? My spirit is strong, but my body is weak. We do get a bit weaker as we get older. Our muscles aren't as strong. But in our spirits, we should be the most dynamic, strong person that we've ever been. And it goes from strength to strength to strength as we age, because we're with our God and he is with us. Nothing is wasted. Have you persevered through something and at the end looked back and said, how could God use any of this? You feel weary. You feel tested. You've got scars from the journey. But though you may have made it through, you still have questions of what does it all mean? That's where trust and faith comes in. Even here we have to give God scope. If we just hold out a little bit longer, nothing is wasted in God's hands. Daniel could have, near the end, gone, God, was made captive. I did what you wanted me to do. And then I was chosen to be in, leadership in this new kingdom. And I still worshipped and honored you. And then what happened? I got thrown into the lion's den. God, what are you doing? But he didn't do that. He knew God was with him the whole way through, and God would not now leave him orphaned. He would not leave him by himself. He was with him. Do we believe that when we're stuck in the middle, that God is with us, God is using it for a purpose, and nothing is ever wasted? Think about it. Thank you for listening today.